start with, what exactly is this ethical leadership, right? Ethical leadership means using ethics and making an ethical decisions in situations that are faced by leaders. It means keeping in mind several ethical perspectives while providing the overall leadership guidance to subordinates and also the job responsibilities performed by leaders. Ethical leadership helps leaders to make ethical decisions and be an ethical leader. Hence, ethical leadership is all about the intersection of ethics with leadership. There may be many times when leaders are faced with very simple and straightforward decisions, which on the other hand are very risky with respect to ethics and ethical situation. Hence, it becomes critical that leaders consider various ethical dimensions before making decisions. Ethical leadership is important to a person to develop as a leader and be successful in leading successfully. Importance of ethical leadership. Now, in today's world, this is one of the most important thing. Ethical leadership is a must for all leaders as well as employees of any organization. There is nothing like be ethical or not being ethical. Ethical is something that is expected and that's something that needs to be there all the time. In fact, ethics are important not only the professional front but also on the personal front. Right from the start of the industry and business, people have been concerned about leaders and their ethics. Research has found that ethical leadership is in an organization, including the leadership of a country, can lead to a more just and caring society. Ethical leadership is about ethics and moral principles of the leaders who use these ethics and moral principles to rightly balance the different interests of individual and group stakeholders. They also aim to gain returns that benefits the firm, the stakeholders and the CEO at the same time, obtaining everything within the purview of ethics and moral principles. You can understand from the above situations that being ethical is not only important but also crucial in any business. Ethics should be integrated into a basic day-to-day working of each and every employee of an organization. However, as one goes up the organizational hierarchy, it becomes crucial that an organization should have ethical leaders who follow and preach ethical leadership. This is because it is these leaders who leads the employees and guides them. So if the leaders are themselves not ethical, the organization cannot expect to function on the lines of ethics and moral values. Ethical leadership is important because it conveys how the leaders are viewed by their followers, peers and superiors based on their perceptions of the leader's character and behaviors. Let's also try to understand what could be the principles, of an ethical leader. There are 5 principles that drive the development of ethical leadership. These 5 principles, let me go one by one. The first one is respect for others. The second one is service to others. The third one is justice to others. Fourth one is honesty towards others. And the fifth one is building community with others. Let's look into each one in detail and understand what it actually means. When I say respect for others, as per this principle of ethical leadership, leaders can be ethical when they treat others with dignity and respect. Hence, ethical leaders do not treat people as means to their own needs. Ethical leaders believe that followers have goals and ambitions as well. They also believe that followers are human beings who have worth and value to the organization. Hence, whenever there are conflicting viewpoints between a leader and his followers, he tends to use traits of empathy, active listening, and tolerance to resolve the conflicts. The second one I was talking about is service to others. As per this principle of ethical leadership, leaders can be ethical when they serve others. Such leaders show unselfish concerns for the welfare of others. Hence, such leaders always tend to put their followers before themselves. The prime reason of being a leader for such individual is leading support and nurturing his subordinates. Some of the examples through which such leaders serve others are mentoring, building teams, empowering, delegating, being empathetic. Now, these are the examples that they show. Leadership over here is by display. I cannot tell them about being ethical. I need to exhibit them by being ethical myself, by following these simple things like by mentoring, building teams, empowering, delegating, and being empathetic. The third principle is justice for others. As per this principle of ethical leadership, leaders can be ethical when they make sure that all their decisions are based on sense of justice and fairness. Hence, such leaders tend to treat all of his followers equally and at par with each other and also himself. However, he is also very clear on any kind of differential treatments needed for a particular subordinate. Such leaders understand the needs for such a differential treatment and is transparent about his decision. He also communicates the reason for such differential treatments clearly to the rest of his subordinates. He also makes sure that his decisions for differential treatment is based on moral sounds and reasonable logic. Next principle is honesty towards others. As per this principle of ethical leadership, leaders can be ethical only if they are honest. This is due to the fact that traits of dishonesty in a leader would destroy the trust of the subordinates in him as a leader. Trust is a crucial component of any leader-follower relationship. An honest leader would be able to raise the trust level and better build the leaders-followers relationship. Hence, ethical leaders should strive to be honest. Leaders can portray their honesty by being open with others, by expressing their thoughts openly and portraying themselves as true to their real nature and character as they can be. However, you should keep in mind that leaders should also find the right balance between being honest and disclosing only what is appropriate in a given situation. Research scholars have put forward the view that honesty in leaders means the following. An honest leader should not promise what he cannot deliver. He should not misinterpret information or data. He should not misrepresent himself. He should not hide vital information by evading communicating with his subordinates. He should fulfill his obligations. He should not try to avoid being responsible and being accountable. He should not believe in the survival of the fittest, but instead should try to nurture and mentor the weaker subordinates to bring them at par with the rest of the team. He should always treat his subordinates with dignity and humanity. He should always be consistent about what he believes, thinks, says, and does. He should have an open, honest relationship with his subordinates and peers. He should strive to build trust among followers as their leaders. Building the community with others, the next principle. As per this principle of ethical leadership, leaders can be ethical by building community with others. Building a community with others is crucial for becoming an ethical leader, as leadership is about influencing others to achieve a common goal. Hence, a leader has to strive to achieve organizational or team goals that are appropriate for himself as well as the followers. Ethical leaders always ensure and lay emphasis on trying to set goals by considering the goals and ambitions of everyone in the team or organization to make sure that the set goals are acceptable by his team. Let's understand methods to make subordinates open to ethical leadership. Few are the methods that you can use as ethical leaders to make sure your subordinates more open and receptive to ethical leadership. Leaders should become role models, right? When your team looks at you, right, or looks up to you to be what it is, it works, right? Where ethical leadership is instilled in them. Preach what you know best. Encourage an inclusive work culture. Ensure an effective whistleblower system and encourage open communication. Let's understand these 5 methods in little more detail. As I said, the first method is leaders should become role models. An ethical leader should strive to become a role model for his subordinates. He should inculcate in himself a firm belief that he owes a duty to his fellow team members. He should take an active interest in his subordinates' job responsibilities and motivate them to achieve their personal ambitions and set goals. He should actively take responsibility of each of the subordinates' career path and future and help them grow. When an ethical leader becomes a role model for his subordinates, they become more open towards leaders' ethics and moral values. The second method is preach what you know best. An ethical leader should keep in mind that he should always stick to what he is good at. You should be clear about your own strengths and capabilities to be able to provide accurate and clear direction to your subordinates' activities. You should be very sure of core set of skills and capabilities and focus that you possess, and you should not yield under any kind of external pressures to undermine yourself on these core capabilities. When an ethical leader is sure of what he knows and sticks to it, he would avoid contradicting himself in front of others. This would make his subordinates perceive the leader as a person who is sure of himself, knows what he is doing, and makes them trust in his abilities as a leader. Such an ethical leader would be able to provide a clear and consistent leadership to his subordinates. The next method is encourage an inclusive work culture. A great way to make subordinates more open to your ethical leadership is to encourage an inclusive working culture. When a leader fosters such a work culture, there will be no favoritism, no layers of bureaucracy, and no undue advantages of any employees. It is but natural that an inclusive work culture will make your subordinates more receptive of your ethical leadership, as they all feel treated equally and enjoy equal benefits. The team would also benefit from such a work culture where each individual has a freedom of expressing his ideas and opinions. This would lead to the discovery of a new and innovative ideas, processes, technologies, and whatnot. The members of team feel cherished and work together under the guided leadership of an ethical leader. The next method I was talking about is effective whistleblower system. Ethical leaders should ensure that the organization has an effective and sound whistleblower system of an effective processes for free flow of information in the team. You should consider the whistleblower as the eyes and ears of the organization, as they help to point out the wrongdoings that may be taking place in your organization. Whistleblowers should be put forward in front of other employees as role models by rewarding and appreciating them. As an ethical leader, it is a moral duty that you stand up for and protect such whistleblowers. By doing so, you establish yourself as a transparent and honest person in the eyes of your subordinates. You should keep in mind that it is these whistleblowers that point out problems in the system and helps you to become a great leader by solving these problems and go unnoticed by you. Ethical leaders should create sound processes and ways that their employees can use to express their views, such that maximum information is used in the leader's decision making. Encouraging open communication is the next method I was talking about. Ethical leaders should always strive to base their decisions on open, truthful, and unbiased logic. You should encourage your subordinates to openly express their views and opinions on anything, including issues. When employees are given the freedom to speak openly, they will help an ethical leader to keep track of his morale and ethics. Subordinates should be encouraged to possess the quality of candor, which is the ability to speak the truth and to speak up and speak out. You should also encourage your subordinates to have integrity and perceive their principles and acts on them. Such subordinates who are encouraged to communicate openly can then be open about expressing their beliefs, be who they are, and stand up for their beliefs. A small piece of advice: ethical leaders should always try to instill ethics and moral values in their team members by telling a compelling and a morally rich story. However, it is equally important that the ethical leaders must also personify that ethical and moral story by living this story, not just by talking about it. A small piece of advice: ethical leaders should always try to instill ethics and moral values in their team members by telling a compelling and a morally rich story. However, it is equally important that the ethical leaders must also personify that ethical and moral story by living this story, not just by talking about it.